Hi everybody, happy Friday. Welcome back to our drawing class. Today we've got a really fun one. We're going to be drawing a puppy from 101 Dalmatians. So again, I'll be using my marker today so that you can see my lines. If you're using your pencil, you'll be able to erase if you need to. There's not many lines that we're gonna have to erase, so just if you make a mistake, you can erase it. So today when we start, we're gonna start with his head, the very top of it. So we're just gonna start here near the top of our paper. We wanna make sure we have room for his body, and he's gonna come over here in a little bit for his tail. So I'm gonna start here, and I'm just gonna do a very slight curve for the top of his head. Good. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw two lines down that give him the top part of his head. So I'm just gonna do 1, 2, and go ahead and give him his 2 lines for his head. Good. Okay, so then we're going to come around the side and we're going to give him his cheekbones. So when his cheekbones come out, there you go, like that little hook again. Same thing over here. This one might be, there we go, a little bit wider of a hook. But you can see we're starting to form his face. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to come on top and give him some ears that flap down. So I'm going to start here by just giving a straight line up, kind of over here. Got a good little space before the edge of his head. And then I'm going to draw this line to connect it to this corner here. And then I'm going to come on the other side and draw another line straight up. And then I'm going to do one more curve to get the top of his ear. Curve it over and stop. And then I'm just going to do a little loop, give it a little hook, and connect it back up here to this corner space of his, of his head where we stopped the ear earlier. So I'm just going to curve down and hook it straight back up. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little line here that's like his ear. It's the back part of his ear, so it's kind of flopped over. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This line is going to be, instead of going straight out, we're going to add it a little bit diagonal. So I'm just going to do a diagonal line there. And then we're going to come straight down and stop right there next to the middle of his cheek. And then I'm going to come back up to the top. This one's going to be a little bit bigger of a curve. And then so I'm going to come straight down and I'm going to hook it to attach back to that line. Give it some curves in the corners. There's his other ear. And just like we added this line, we're going to come over here and add another line there. That way it gives him the back part of his ear. All right, now we're going to work on his eyes. He needs 2 eyes. So we're going to start over here. We're going to give him a little oval, and that way we can go back in and we can add around it. Okay, there's my first oval. Good. And then I'm going to go around it and I'm going to add one more oval. This one's going to connect to the very bottom though, so it's going to look like it's the same circle, just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start here, curve around, and end in the same place that I started. And then I need one more bigger oval. It's going to be a spot around his eye. So I'm going to start a little bit up this time, and then I'm just going to make a spot. You see how that one, it doesn't really start at the same place. And then we're going to give him a little eyebrow in there. And then a pupil so he can see. All right, we got one eye down. We need one more eye. So we're going to come over here and make a very similar circle to the oval to the first one that we made. So here's my oval. Okay. And then just like we did the second one around it, we're going to do a second one around this one too. This one's going to start here at the top. Curve around. And I'm just going to stop right there. I'm not going to connect that part to the eye. For this one, we're just going to add a little U. And then I'll give this one a pupil so he can see in this side too. And we'll give him an eyebrow on this side. So there's his 2 eyes. All right, now we're gonna work on his nose. So his nose is kind of gonna be like his head. We're just gonna start with here, give a little curve. And then we're gonna make a V shape, but at the bottom, it's not gonna be a point, it's gonna be a curve. So I'm just gonna start from one edge, curve over to the next. And then we'll give him a little wrinkle on top of his nose. That way it looks like he has a snout. Next, we're gonna move to his mouth. So his mouth is gonna be like a W. So I'm gonna start here, almost next to his nose. I'm gonna do 1, 2. See how I made a W shape there? And then I'm gonna come over to the sides and I'm just gonna add those little lines so you can tell that he's smiling. He's got some smile lines. And he's gonna be hanging his tongue out. So we're gonna draw his tongue. Okay, there's his tongue. He's sticking it out nice and far. And then we're just gonna close off his mouth. I'm gonna draw a line from his happy face line to his tongue, and then same thing over here. And so he's got his mouth and his tongue, and then we're just gonna give him a little line down his tongue so you can tell that's what it is. Okay, and then we're gonna give him a little bit of a jaw shape. So we're just gonna add halfway between his tongue, we're just gonna add a little hook there. And then same thing on the other side, a little bit smaller. That way he can have a chin a little bit. Okay. And now we're gonna add on this side, we need to give him a little bit of a neck. And so I'm just gonna draw a line straight down from his cheek. And then our next part is gonna be a collar. So his collar is gonna start on the side of his neck, and it's gonna curve out a little bit, and we're gonna stop at his tongue, and then we'll come to the other side, and we'll finish it off to his other cheek, okay? So I'm just gonna start with a little line here. And then we'll curve it back to his tongue. And then I'll come back over here under his chin, draw the rest of his collar. And then he needs the bottom half of his collar. So same thing, it's gonna curve out, come around, and it's gonna stop right under here, and we're gonna connect it with a little line, okay? So here's his collar. We'll stop right there. And then we've just gotta add a little line to connect the two of them. Good. And so his collar, they have the little tags that have their names, right? So we're just gonna add 2 tiny little lines there. You can barely see them on my paper. And then I'm gonna add a circle so he can have a name tag. Maybe his name is Lucky or Joey or Johnny or Happy, Silly, anything you wanna name him or her. All right, now we're gonna work a little bit on his body. So his body's gonna curve out this way, and it's gonna curve a little bit out that way. So then he's got 2 shoulders. So I'm gonna go here, curve down, and then over here, same thing, we're just gonna curve out and down. And we're gonna come over here and we're gonna give him an arm. So that way he can have his front foot supporting him while he's sitting here. So I'm just gonna give him a little bit of a line. And then we're gonna add another line down. You see how I connected those two? I didn't make them start at the same point. And then from here, I'm gonna go down again. And so now he's got an arm. Now we've got to give him a paw. So we've got to give him the little bumps that make it look like his foot. So I'm gonna start with this bottom one. Just give it a little curve. And then it's easy if you go around and hook up. And then we'll do the next toe. So I'm gonna start here at the bottom of his first one. Curve out, around, and hook up. It's barely almost touching there. And this last toe, just draw a little bump right there on the last one. And then I've got a hole here, so I need to connect it. I'm just gonna add to my line there. There's his first leg. And then we're gonna work on his second leg. This one's a little bit more tricky. So you gotta start kind of in the middle between his shoulder and his tag. So when we start, we're gonna come here right in the middle and just give it a little curve. And then how we went down with these two, we gotta go down with the next leg. So I'm just gonna start a line. All right. And then we'll add a line on the other side. This one, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a curve. That way he has an elbow shape. So I'm gonna start here, kind of even with the next one. Elbow, and okay. Here's my leg. And now just like this one, we've gotta give him a paw. So I'm gonna start here at the bottom, down, side, hook up. Same thing, go out, up, and hook. And then that little bump on the last side for his last toe. And then we're gonna come back over here and we're gonna start working on his body and the rest of his back, so his back leg. So I'm just gonna give him a little line here. I'm not gonna start here, I wanna start up a little bit. So I'm gonna start about right here, and I'm just gonna draw a little straight line. All right, and then we've gotta give him a leg. His back leg looks a little bit different. So I'm gonna start here, right on the tip, and I'm gonna curve down just a little bit. Made him a nice big curve. And then I've got to finish off the rest of his leg. I don't want to touch it at the bottom, but I want to be really close. So I'm going to start here at the same point. And I'm going to curve down. And I'm going to leave a little space right there in between. That would be he has a foot, and it looks like it's connected. And so then kind of how we gave him a paw, we're going to give him a paw for the back, but the back ones are a little bit longer than the front ones. So I'm just going to give him a little heel, and then the foot. And then just like we did these toes, we're going to curve up and around, and up and around. And the very last one will just be a little bump on the end of his toe. So I'm going to curve around and hook, curve around and hook, and then my little bump. And there's his back foot. So his back foot, I do want to connect it right here where I have a little hole. So I'm just going to draw my line. There it is. You can tell that he's got a whole foot there. And then I'm going to give him a belly. So I'm just going to connect a little bit above his toes to his back toes and touch it. And I'm going to finish off his belly in the front. So kind of where I put this line, I'm going to start it here and connect it right here. And so there's his tummy. Then we've got to give him one more foot. So he's got two front feet. He's got one back foot, and he's kind of sitting. So his other back foot should be right here in between his two front feet. But we're only going to draw a portion of it so it looks like it's on the other side of his body. So we'll start and we'll come out here and just give him a little curve. And then all you got to do is add his paw. So we're going to add a toe. One more toe. Hook it up. One more toe. This time we're going to connect it all the way there so it looks like his toes are connected to that back leg back there. And then he needs a tail. All puppies have to have a tail that they can wag. So I'm going to come right here on the back, almost by the back of his heel, but I'm going to leave a little bit of space there. And so I'm going to start and just curve up and back down. And touch back on his leg there. So there's his tail, so he can wag it. And then we've got to give him some spots. So he's a Dalmatian, which they're white and they have black spots. So I'm going to come here on his arm and his body a little bit and just give him some spots. Yours can look like whatever you want them to. They don't have to be circles. So I'm going to make some crazy spots. Color it in. And maybe one down here. Color it in. I'll give him one on his leg and some on his body. What do you think? 101 Dalmatian. And so you can even give him a name or her a name, and you can color that collar. You can even add more spots. Remember, this is a spot on his eye, so if you wanted to color that one, you can. And you did a wonderful job today. Great job.